Guys, it is about 11:45 in the morning on Wednesday, May 20th. I wanted to talk a little bit about what's happened over the last couple of months, and just kind of give you some insight into how I listen and how I sort of make my leaps of logic. And this will often come out in our video essays. Of course, we have many different resources that we go to, but I wanted to just kind of show you the process of how we think, or, and oftentimes how I think. And then what we do is we create video essays on our Book of Hours YouTube page to creatively illustrate what's happening. So let's go back to March 13th, 2020, when Trump declared the state of emergency. So March 13th was Friday the 13th, when the mother of all regime changes took place. So let's play a little bit of this address to the nation, which was the first stage and the first step in this whole process. What I'd also like to remind you is that these implementations and these stages have already been put into place. So now they're just going through the motions of telling you, hey, look, this is what we're doing. And they're basically just being polite. And they're just going through protocol of making formal announcements to the news so that you can see what's happening. They don't necessarily have to, but they want you to believe that we're still living in a democracy. And they especially want you to believe that this guy right here is still in charge. And as of this date, he was not. Okay? And I'll explain all of that as we go along in this video.
Nation. But it is only the beginning of what we're really doing, and now we're in a different phase. We had some very old and obsolete rules that we had to live with. It worked under certain circumstances, but not under mass circumstances. They were there for a long time, they were in place for a long time, and we're breaking them down now. And they're very usable for certain instances, but not for this. To unleash the full power of the federal government in this effort today, I am officially declaring a national emergency.
When he's talking about old rules that are in place, they worked at some point and they lasted a long time and they were really great. I'm just paraphrasing what he said. And that some of those old rules will apply to some, but they won't apply to others. And then he ended his opening statement with, I'm officially declaring a national emergency. So those old rules that he's talking about are civil liberties and constitutional protections. The old way of doing things. He said, hey, it was great for a while. It was good while it lasted. Hey, America, it was good while it lasted. But no more. And so who are the people that will still benefit from constitutional protections? And who are the people that won't? Because he specifically said, if you go back and listen to this, he specifically said it will be for some, but not for others. So those that will still benefit from constitutional protections are corporations, because back in the Obama administration, or was it the Bush administration? I forget. It's been so long. Something called Citizens United was passed. And what Citizens United did was it gave corporations the same rights as people. So now what Trump is saying is, well, those rights for those corporations are still intact, but not for the people. That's why he specifically said we're breaking down the old models. That's breaking down constitutional protections. And when he made it official that he was declaring a national emergency, what that means is that a national emergency means that he's stepping aside and he's allowing the emergency powers to take over. And I'm not, I'm trying to make this as simple as possible for people to follow, but this means that he's really no longer in charge, that the emergency powers that are in place to take care of us during a crisis or during an emergency are there to dictate to him what should be done from this point forward. And this is why. So this happened on March 13th, well, Friday the 13th, 2020. in March 13th, 2020. So 6 days later, we have him meeting with this dude right here. And he is with FEMA. So I'm going to rewind this and we'll go back to the beginning and listen to about the first 40 seconds of this. So he's speaking to Trump, and he's with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is the headquarters, where they're at the FEMA headquarters. So the National Response Coordination Center under these emergency measures. And let's listen to what this dude has to say.
Well, Mr. President, Vice President, thank you for being here. Really appreciate your visit to FEMA. I think your visit really, as you indicated last week, by signing the national emergency, has really empowered FEMA. We've gone to a level 1 here at the NRCC and continue to support the emergency, continue to support all elements, and really working with the interagency and our state and local partners. The governors, who you'll talk to here in a few minutes, know the FEMA process, know how that works in cases of both natural and man-made emergencies, and that's the process that we'll be using going forward.
So this guy is basically saying this is the process moving forward. So all of the measures to, sort of protect the country in the state of this national emergency are moving forward, and they've spoken to all the governors, as he mentioned. They've spoken to all the governors, and the governors are going to go through, the different protocols that FEMA tells them to do to go through. So what are some of those models and what are some of those mechanics that are in place during a national emergency? Well, President Trump is at the Federal Emergency Management Agency headquarters being told by this guy, who's basically doing the polite, thank you for letting us take over. So they've already taken over, and this is just protocol. This is just for theater. This is just for the news. This is just for you to make it seem like it's all really official. They've already done this. They've already put all the models in place, and they instituted that on March 13th. March 13th is when everything went to hell. It went bye-bye. Okay, so now he's just going through the motions 6 days later and saying, this is all happening. Thank you for allowing us to do it, even though they told him, this is not a man in charge. If you continue to look at this video, and there are many videos out there with him, sitting at the National Response Coordination Center at the FEMA headquarters. During the meeting, while the different governors are speaking, you can see him later on, like folding his arms. His body language basically says, I'm not in charge. I don't like this. This is not what my constituents voted for. Look at his body language. Who's in charge? Is it this guy? He's sitting closer to this guy. So sometimes you have to look at things like that. So that's how I look at things. And then I say to myself, okay, well, what is FEMA? And what the heck is going on with FEMA? What are they planning? So I go to the FEMA website, obviously. Right? I'm going to go to the FEMA website. And of course the first thing they have, like in all websites that you go to, doesn't matter what it is, they all have some sort of coronavirus disclaimer or whatever, warning, whatever. But I'm going to go to the search criteria. So you saw that I just hit search, and I'm going to choose the word lockdown because that's what's happening to us right now. We've been in lockdown for 2 months. So I'm going to see what they have to say about lockdown. Because he just got through telling Trump, hey, we're going to put all the protocols in place. We're going to do everything. We've told the governors what needs to be done, and we're really happy that we have this opportunity to do this. So it stands to reason that the National Response Coordination Center most likely wrote this thing right here, the emergency response plan. When I typed in the word lockdown, I got 24 results. And, you're more than welcome to do this yourself. I don't hold sway on any of this. You guys can go to these websites and look it up yourself if it's important to you. If you'd rather watch cat videos or binge on Netflix, that's totally fine. But this is the kind of stuff that I enjoy, this kind of research. So I chose lockdown, and I typed in lockdown, and I got this first hit. And this first hit seemed the most appropriate. Emergency response plan seems like something that the National Response Coordination Center would write. Okay, because if you notice that when I went to FEMA.gov and I'm going to choose the emergency response plan, if you notice, it takes me to a completely different website, a totally different URL, something called ready.gov/business/implementation/emergency. And it's run by the Department of Homeland Security. So now the Department of Homeland Security is in charge of an emergency response plan with business implementation for something that is a variation of the common cold, actually less deadly than the common cold. So this is really interesting to me. So I'm going to just kind of scroll through the emergency response plan and look at some of the headings. Protective actions for life safety, which include evacuation, sheltering, shelter in place, and lockdown. Evacuation, that's really interesting, having to move people around. So one thing that people don't understand is that when the president is no longer in charge and FEMA takes over, then they have all sorts of lateral, unilateral authority that they can take over your life. They can force you to evacuate your home. They can force you to shelter in place. They can force you into a lockdown situation, and all these different measures that they are allowed to do when they're in place trying to protect the country from something that is, as deadly as the common cold. So let's, or less deadly than the common cold. So, what I find is really interesting is that this website that FEMA took me to, which is run by the Department of Homeland Security, has business in it. So that's really strange. So ready.gov, business implementation emergency. And then if you go over here, there's these different tabs you can choose to read about what that means for businesses, performance objectives, the planning stages of this, the emergency response plans, resource management, all this stuff you can read about yourself. Okay, so these guys have taken over the role of running the country, basically. But one thing that really struck me and kind of stuck out for me was this word business. Business, business, business. What does business have to do with a virus? How does business benefit? Business continuity, planning suite, So that's really interesting. Business continuity, planning suite. And then they do like a little FEMA has like a little video. I don't even know, but you can look and look at it yourself. But so one thing I know is that, I want to get you to the place where I am right now, which is I know that we're looking at the implementation of corporate governance. So this is when corporations and government have merged. And as we know, Trump right here on March 13th said the old ways of doing things are falling apart, going away. We're creating new ways. Some will benefit and some will not. So the new way is that the corporations and the businesses that have protections and have rights are going to get stronger, and that the people who sort of had protections and rights through constitutional protections and things like that are going to get weaker. So that's what that means. So we can make that leap of logic to here where we talk about where, this ready.gov site that wrote this emergency response plan, but it has business implementation emergency in it. We know that this is a new way of running the government. So when you have businesses and government merging, corporations and government merging, that's corporate fascism, especially when it doesn't benefit the people. And one of the best sites that you can go to learn about corporate fascism is the World Economic Forum. So the World Economic Forum, on a global scale, is sort of working with these local businesses that FEMA has also mentioned that they're working with through the governors. Because the governors are telling you what businesses can open and what businesses can't, correct? The governor is telling you if your county is open for business or if your county is not. So clearly the governors are taking their directions from FEMA, and FEMA is working in tandem in a way. I know this is all kind of, nebulous and strange, but FEMA is working in a way with the corporations, and the corporations are doing the bidding of the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum has a bunch of platforms, as you can see here. So all you have to do is go to weforum.org, and it says agenda, platforms, reports, events, and about. So, and it's all feel-good language. It's all very corporate. It all looks really great. It's about, introducing the future of mankind into itself and, evolving and all that stuff. But what I want to do is focus on where we are right now. And where we are right now is in a state of national emergency, in lockdown because of FEMA, and working with businesses and strategies to create, these performance objectives and all these different things that they have in mind to establish, committees and, effective preparedness programs and all these things. Okay, so this is, in a way, dictated on the COVID Action Platform. And the COVID Action Platform, what you want to do is when you go here, this actually isn't all that important. What you want to do is just choose an article over here on the right. So let's go ahead and click that article. And it takes you to toplink.weforum.org, the login page. So you would have to create an account. You would have to use your email address and a password and sign in. Okay? And that takes you to strategic intelligence right here. You can watch this video if you want. You can scroll down and you can choose different topics, global governance. If you want, you can choose 5G if that interests you. You can find out why we need 5G. Agile governance, global issue. So agile governance is really interesting. I am very interested in agile governance, but I'm going to take you down to something called the Fourth Industrial Revolution, because this is the next video that JP and I will be releasing once we get the script written and everything laid out. Like we're working on it right now. So as you can see, I clicked on the Fourth Industrial Revolution, and this is what I get. So everything looks like a Corona ball, doesn't it? And this goes hundreds of layers deep. All right, so the Fourth Industrial Revolution represents a fundamental change in the way we live, work, and relate to one another. This can be applied on a global level, and this can also be applied, this first statement here, can be applied on a local level as well. So you have to understand that the reason this guy is no longer in charge is because, first of all, he gave up his power to usher in FEMA because of, the national emergency. And then FEMA laid out their objectives and their plan, their emergency response plan with ready.gov, ready.gov, and business implementation. Business implementation works on a global level. Okay, it works on a global level, all right? And you can then go to the Strategic Intelligence website and you can choose which global topic will affect you locally. Okay, I want to get you from here, bye-bye government, bye-bye constitution, bye-bye civil liberties, to here. Okay, I'm just trying to pull you into, where we are at the present day, because it's been 2 months and people are still acting like we have a functioning constitution. People are still writing to President Trump, help us, save us. He doesn't have any power anymore. The people who are running this thing are the people who are implementing the different strategies, and they come out of this thing. Okay, so it's no longer It's no longer, a democracy. It's global governance. It's corporate fascism. So we're at the fourth industrial revolution, and I choose it because it's right now it's JP's favorite topic because it's the one he's reading about a lot, and we are doing the script for it right now. We'll be releasing a new video on that. Agile technology governance. So we can choose that. And then over here, when you choose Agile technology governance inside the Corona ball called the Fourth Industrial Revolution, this thing right here, over on the side, you'll get all these different articles that tell you, all of their ideas about what that means. So and then you can choose all these little off branches of Agile governance technology. So let's look at corporate governance right here. Let me click that and it loads and boom, it changes. And there's corporate governance is now in the middle. So corporate governance involves something like cultivating trust. What is the long-term vision? Governing disruption. That sounds ominous. Defining corporate purpose, governance mechanisms, corporate risk. Okay, all that. So you can keep choosing these. And like I said, it goes hundreds of layers deep. And there's all these different topics that you can choose from here. So remember, I originally chose the Fourth Industrial Revolution to take us into corporate governance because that's where we are. Okay, that's exactly where we are right now. So if you're asking yourself, why isn't my community, why isn't my state, why isn't my county open up yet for business? It's a little more complicated than just, your governor is a bad guy, because whatever, it's a little more complicated than that. He is working with stakeholders who represent global governance, and those committee non-voted for, so they were simply appointed, they weren't voted for, those committee members in your local area are deciding what's best for the corporation, not necessarily what's best for the people. And that's why. So it's really just corporate takeover. It's neoliberalism on steroids. It's corporate fascism. That's where we are now. And that's why everything's just kind of like not moving, because it takes time to put these models into place. It's like when a business decides to relocate and decides to change the way that it operates so that it can be, more innovative in marketing or in the financial sector. So sometimes they do, they remove board members. Sometimes they unseat CEOs. They do, maybe they do a mass layoff. You've heard of all this, right? Corporations, they implement all these changes and they do some serious restructuring and reorganizing. Well, that's what's happening to various countries around the world. It's what's happening to the United States, is we're doing a big reorg. We're really changing the way that we govern through bureaucracy, and we're changing the way that we operate on different economic levels. So that's what's happening. To me, it makes perfect sense. To me, I was able to make this leap here when we declared a state of national emergency on Friday the 13th. It was pretty easy for me to go from here to here. But some people are having a harder time with it. And I'm trying to explain it, in ways that you guys can hopefully understand. But I would suggest that if you're really, really interested in what's happening, to go to this website. So you want to go to weforum.org right here. And you want to choose COVID-19 COVID Action Platform. That'll come up. And then you want to choose one of these articles. This will just get you into this will just eventually get you into here, into the strategic intelligence. So if you remember, I had to log in it took me to the page where I had to log in at top link, and then I logged in, and it took me here. So hopefully that's easy enough for you to follow. You have to have you have to have an email and a password in order to get to this really cool interface. That's what this is called. This is called an interface. And it's very user-friendly. Internet governance. Internet governance. I mean, oh, look at that. Carnegie Mellon University. That's just very close to where I live. So a lot of the stuff that goes on is kind of under your nose a lot of times. So expanding access, identity management, online surveillance. Oh, that's nice. Let's see what that's about. So you see where you see how I kind of go down these corona holes. I don't call them rabbit holes. I call them corona holes because this whole thing is shaped like a corona ball, even with the little spikes on the end. I think that it was just ingenious the way they did that. So hopefully, if you, in between your Netflix binge watching and in between bitching on Facebook about how your governor is an asshole, or in between, doing whatever it is you're doing while you're sheltering in place, or you're in lockdown, you can play along these sites, maybe read up on the Constitution, decide if something you like. I don't know, maybe it's not for you, but that's where we are. So we went from here to national emergency, Constitution bye-bye, civil liberties for people bye-bye, only for corporations. He said it right here in the first, from like 4 minutes and 20 up to 4 minutes and like 50. So it took 30 seconds for him to say that. 30 seconds to lose America. Wow, not bad. And then we handed everything over, because of the national emergency, we handed everything over to FEMA. And then FEMA was like, here's the emergency response plan. We're going to work with corporate businesses to take over local government. Because COVID. So then that took us here to all of the different topics that you can find on the World Economic Forum. Okay? So I think that's all I want to say. That didn't take very long. I hope you guys were able to follow along. I hope it explained some things. There's a few other things that I feel like I want to talk about as well, but I think I'm just going to leave it at that for now. And have a great afternoon.
The American people have been so disciplined. It's been my honor to be their president. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it always. It's been my great honor to have been their president. And
Thank you for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. If you really like our work, you can help support us on a regular basis by going to patreon.com/bookofhours. For as little as $2 a month, you can sustain us and keep us working. You can also make a one-time donation at paypal.me/bookofhours. Thank you.